There's a myth we've all inherited, deeply embedded in modern culture, passed down through generations without question, that movement equals progress, that hustle equals success, that doing more somehow makes us more deserving of what we seek. From childhood, we are trained to chase grades, approval, love, money, purpose. But have you ever noticed that the more you run, the farther it seems to drift away? We're told to go after our dreams. But no one tells us what happens when that chase becomes the very reason we never catch up. It's a silent anxiety, this need to be doing something, anything, to feel like we matter. Like if we stop, we'll disappear. The irony is, in constantly seeking, we often reinforce the very lack we're trying to escape. Think about the last time you sat in complete stillness. No phone, no music, no checklist, just you and the moment. Did you feel peace or panic? You see, we've mistaken stillness for stagnation and silence for absence. But the truth is, there's a different kind of movement happening below the surface. One that doesn't need external proof to be powerful. It's the shift of energy, the alignment of intention, the quiet but unwavering presence of awareness. And in the quantum universe, that presence changes everything. In quantum terms, particles don't move in predictable lines. They exist in probabilities until observed. Meaning, nothing becomes real until consciousness engages with it. Motion, in a sense, is not just about travel through space. It's about the direction of attention. You don't create your life by running toward it. You create it by becoming aware of what's already within the field and choosing what to align with. That subtle shift in perception changes everything. Suddenly, life isn't a race, but a relationship, a dance between your internal frequency and the infinite canvas of potential. Stillness is not passivity. It is the sacred space where energy begins to organize itself around your intention. And yet, the noise of the world seduces us back into frenzy. The fear of missing out, of being behind, of not doing enough. But what if all that noise is just distraction from the real work? Aligning who we are with what we desire. Because true manifestation doesn't respond to effort. It responds to coherence. Ask yourself gently, what part of me still believes I need to prove my worth through motion? What would happen if you stopped chasing and started becoming? There's an old story in your nervous system that says safety comes from control. But quantum stillness invites you into a different story, one where surrender is the new power, and silence is not absence, but presence in its most concentrated form. The first step isn't doing more. It's being still enough to remember who you are before the world told you to become someone else. If you close your eyes and listen, truly listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the silence underneath it, you'll find something extraordinary. Something alive. Something vast. It's not emptiness. It's not void. It's the field. The space between thoughts, between breaths, between moments. That's where quantum stillness resides. Most of us are addicted to thinking. We identify with the endless narration inside our heads, the constant commentary of what we should do, who we should be, what could go wrong. We think thinking is intelligence. But real intelligence, the kind that builds galaxies and weaves DNA, is far quieter than we imagine. In quantum physics, there is no solid, unchanging object, only waves of possibility collapsing into form. Reality, in essence, flickers into being, much like your thoughts. They're not continuous, they're like snapshots appearing frame by frame. Between each thought is a pause, a still point, and that is the true origin of creation. The ancient mystics and modern scientists are finally saying the same thing. Stillness is not the absence of life, but the womb of life itself. When you rest in the space between thoughts, you are touching the unmanifest, the pure field of all potential. It's like standing at the ocean's edge before a wave crashes. Still, immense, charged with infinite power. That space is not just a moment of peace. It's a bridge. From there, you can access insight, clarity, even spontaneous healing. Because in stillness, your nervous system softens, your heart rate slows, and your brain waves shift from frantic beta into spacious alpha and theta states, those same waves associated with intuition, creativity, and flow. Real transformation begins there. Not in the next book, not in the next plan, but in the moment you become deeply present. Not with your mind, but with your being. Consider this. How many decisions have you made from panic, from pressure, from the fear of missing your window? Now ask yourself, how would your life look if your choices were born from stillness, not fear? One woman, exhausted from years of grinding to make her business succeed, shared that it was only when she stopped trying to figure it out and instead sat each morning in still, silent presence that her biggest breakthrough came. Not through brainstorming, through being. Stillness is the birthplace of synchronicity. That email you weren't expecting, the stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear, the opportunity that shows up after you finally let go. This is not coincidence, this is coherence. You aren't just in the field, you are the field, and the field responds to your frequency, not your force. When we think we have to control everything, we close ourselves off from that intelligence. But when we allow the silence between our thoughts to expand, we open a portal. We align with something deeper than logic, something intuitive, intelligent, divine. So next time you sit with your morning coffee or wait at a red light, dare to pause. Let go of the urge to fill every second. Rest in the space between. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness watching them rise and fall. And that awareness, that still presence, is where the real magic lives. Imagine two tuning forks. You strike one and the other, untouched, begins to vibrate in harmony. That's not magic. That's resonance. Energy doesn't chase, it tunes, it aligns, it draws into its field what already matches its frequency. And so do we. But most of us, without realizing it, are constantly striking the wrong fork. We're trying to manifest abundance from a place of fear, love from a place of unworthiness, peace from a state of internal chaos. And then we wonder why nothing changes. We think, if I just visualize harder, if I say the affirmations with more energy, if I work even more hours. But manifestation doesn't respond to volume. It responds to vibration. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. This is where quantum stillness becomes more than just a meditative ideal. It becomes a daily compass, because only in stillness can you clearly feel what you're actually radiating. And only from that place can you consciously shift your energy toward what you truly desire. Let's pause here. What's the energy you're carrying right now? Is it aligned with the version of you who already has the life you dream about? If not, this isn't a moment to blame or shame yourself. This is an invitation to realign, not through force, but through presence. There's a quiet power that lives in those who stop trying to chase the world and instead choose to become what they seek. It's the woman who no longer begs for love, but simply radiates it. It's the man who doesn't push to be seen, but is felt the moment he walks into the room. They've stopped performing and started embodying. And that embodiment doesn't come from constant action. It comes from a clear, attuned stillness that knows, I already am. Not in arrogance, in deep, peaceful knowing. In the quantum field, like attracts like. When you dwell in lack, you amplify it. When you rest in enoughness, even before your physical reality reflects it, you begin to shift the field. You send out a new signal. You become a new fork. This is why certain moments in life feel effortless. You weren't fighting the current, you were flowing with it. You were in coherence. A man once told me that after years of dating disappointment, he finally let go, not out of bitterness, but from a genuine place of peace. He spent weeks walking alone, learning to enjoy his own company. One evening, standing silently by a lake, he felt something shift. He described it as coming home to myself. Just a week later, he met someone who mirrored that same grounded peace. They've been together ever since. Coincidence? Maybe. But more likely, coherence. Stillness isn't absence of movement, it's movement in perfect harmony with the field. So how do we access that harmony? By being brutally honest with our own frequency, by listening to the emotions beneath our desires. Do you want success to feel worthy, or because you already are? Do you want love to feel complete, or to amplify your wholeness? These are not rhetorical questions. They're tuning forks for your inner world. When you rest in quantum stillness, you give yourself the space to hear the truth. Not the mind's frantic story, but the soul's steady hum. And from that hum, you begin to recalibrate, not by chasing the dream, but by becoming the frequency that attracts it. The field responds not to your timeline, but to your tone. Change your tone, and the song of your life changes. There is a moment in every journey where we must face the paradox that shakes the foundation of everything we've been taught. To receive what we long for, we must release our grip on needing it. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about giving over to something larger, wiser, more finely attuned than our limited understanding of how things should unfold. In the space of quantum stillness, surrender is not weakness, it's precision. The more we resist, the more we distort the field around us. But when we allow, when we trust, we become clear, and the universe responds to clarity. Yet letting go terrifies us, doesn't it? Because to release means we must stop controlling. And to stop controlling feels like we're opening ourselves up to chaos. But what if control has always been the chaos? What if the very effort to force outcomes is the thing preventing their natural arrival? You don't need to force an acorn to grow into a tree. You don't need to push a wave to crash upon the shore. Nature doesn't strive, it yields. It cooperates with invisible rhythms. It knows when to bloom, when to fall, when to rest. Why should we be any different? Surrender is not about doing nothing. It's about doing only what's aligned and releasing the rest. The right action, taken from stillness, has 10 times the power of desperate striving. Because when you move from inner alignment, you're not pushing against the world. You're flowing with the current of the field. One woman I once met spent 5 years trying to get pregnant. Tests, treatments, hope, heartbreak. Finally, she decided to stop. Not because she gave up on motherhood, but because she chose to trust her body, her life, and her deeper path. She began painting again, meditating, reclaiming joy without needing a specific outcome. Within 3 months, she conceived naturally. Her story isn't rare, it's just rarely told. Because our culture worships effort, but life itself responds to alignment, and alignment often begins where effort ends. Stillness shows us that true receiving can only happen with open hands, and open hands cannot cling. So the question becomes, where in your life are you gripping so tightly that the energy can't flow? Are you holding on to a relationship that no longer reflects your worth? Are you fixated on a goal that once mattered but now drains your soul? Are you attached to a version of yourself that was built more for survival than truth? Letting go isn't erasure, it's evolution. You're not losing what's meant for you, you're making space for it. Think of stillness like a tuning reset. The moment you pause and breathe, the noise quiets and your inner compass activates. From that place, surrender becomes not a defeat, but a sacred act of trust. Trust that what you desire is not only possible, but already in motion. If only you'll stop interfering with the process. In quantum terms, observation collapses potential into form, but attachment distorts observation. Stillness, on the other hand, brings neutrality, and neutrality opens the door to higher order intelligence. It says, I don't need this to come true in order to be whole. I already am, and because I am, I trust life to meet me there. When you can let go, truly let go, you send a message to the field. I'm no longer trying to control reality. I'm partnering with it. That's when the unexpected arrives. That's when miracles feel ordinary. That's when the timeline collapses, and what once seemed far off appears at your doorstep, humble and radiant. Letting go is not the end. It's the threshold. It is the still breath before the next wave rises and carries you somewhere more beautiful than you ever could have planned. There is a moment beyond letting go, a moment where we no longer seek to manifest reality, but instead begin to embody it, where we no longer ask the universe for something outside ourselves, but realize we are the universe, remembering itself in human form. Quantum stillness teaches us this. You are not a separate drop trying to return to the ocean. You are the ocean, momentarily shaped like a drop. And when you remember this, you stop trying to attract what you desire and begin to become the vibration of that desire. In other words, you become the field. The most radiant people you've ever met weren't chasing anything. They were something. Peaceful, grounded, magnetic, not because of what they did, but because of who they were being in every moment. They had become so tuned to the frequency of their truth that life couldn't help but rearrange itself around them. This isn't magic. This is coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and energy align into a clear signal, held consistently, without resistance, you don't wish for things to happen. You live as if they already have. And the field, always listening, mirrors you back in form. But let's be honest, this isn't easy in a world that constantly drags us back into fear, scarcity, and distraction. That's why stillness is essential. Not as a luxury, but as your lifeline. It's the only place where you can remember who you really are and recalibrate. In stillness, you stop performing and start remembering. You don't wait for proof. You become the proof. One man shared that he spent years visualizing wealth, trying to attract abundance. But deep down, he still believed money was hard to earn and not meant for people like him. Then something shifted. He stopped trying to manipulate the external. He sat day after day, not visualizing piles of cash, but simply feeling the safety, the ease, the gratitude of already being enough. Within months, new opportunities began to flow in. Clients, connections, clarity. Not because he tricked the universe, but because he stopped blocking it. You don't become magnetic by faking a vibration. You become magnetic by being honest enough to sit with what you feel and compassionate enough to shift it with love. So pause now and ask yourself, who would I be if I no longer needed proof? What would it feel like to live as if my deepest desires were already true? That version of you, it's not far away. It's already within you. It's just buried under stories, fears, and conditioning. Stillness peels those layers away, not all at once, but breath by breath. And what's revealed isn't a better version of you. It's the truest one. And that truest version doesn't need to chase. It doesn't need to force. It doesn't even need to ask. It simply is. Stillness lets you step into the role of co-creator. Not as someone begging the universe for scraps of miracles, but as a conscious fractal of the divine intelligence that orchestrates the stars. You are not trying to become worthy. You are remembering that you always were. This is the missing key to conscious living. Not striving, not begging, not waiting, but becoming. Becoming the vibration, becoming the field, becoming the stillness from which all things arise. So the next time you feel the urge to grasp, to push, to force, pause. Return to stillness, and from that silence choose again, not from fear, but from knowing that what you seek is already seeking you, and that the surest way to meet it is not through motion, but through resonance. Be still, and know. Stillness isn't something you visit, it's something you return to, again and again, not because life demands it, but because your soul remembers it. In a world addicted to noise and speed, your stillness is a revolution, a quiet one, a sacred one. Quantum stillness is not about doing less. It's about becoming more clear, more aligned, more you. It's the place where manifestation is no longer a chase, but a reflection of the inner world you've dared to tune with truth and trust. Let this be your invitation, not to try harder, but to listen deeper. Not to chase, but to become. Not to beg for miracles, but to remember you are one. Ask yourself now, What version of me has been waiting in stillness just beneath the surface, ready to rise? If this message stirred something in you, share your reflections in the comments. Your story matters here. And if you want more reminders of your own power, subscribe and walk this journey with us. The world doesn't need a faster you, it needs a truer you. Come home, to stillness, to the field, to you.